Hey everybody, welcome to 2ZQ Hot Takes, where we discuss issues both big and small. I am your host, the very handsome Tim Kirk, and this time I will be talking about bodily functions. Many of us like to toss around terms like physiology or metabolism and metabolic functions to sound like an intellectual authority, but we likely don't really understand them. And those of us who are fortunate enough to have a positive sense of well-being don't grasp the impact on the well-being of diminished or impaired bodily functions on our dispositions and cognitive abilities, including the ability to comprehend and retain knowledge and short-term memory, as I reported in 2ZQHT113, Chronic Pain. Homeostasis is also a term that gets used in science fiction as a trope along with life support and is rarely ever applied correctly, but it makes dorks and sci-fi fans' ears perk up. They know that something grossly and graphically disturbing is going to happen very soon. Don't you just respect and admire people who insist on talking to you as though you will give them your complete and intense focus while you are in the midst of an uncontrollable sneezing fit? You can't listen or concentrate. You're basically caught in a spasm, and then they expect you to have listened and incorporated whatever they were so insistent on, and then become visibly frustrated with you when you haven't been laser focused on their issue. I love those people. I've always found it odd that people all come into the world naked. I don't think it's odd that they come into the world naked, but many who have absolutely nothing work their entire lives to build themselves up so that they appear to not be seen beholden to their bodily functions, which none of us can avoid. But at the same time, they deeply desire to shed everything they wrap themselves in and engage in intimate bodily functions with others they find attractive or available. I personally have grown to like the term bio breaks for events because it is tactful and diplomatic and descriptive at the same time. We all need them. By the way, I am also, and have for a very long time, especially due to my experience in the food service industry, as I reported in 2ZQHT62 Food Safety, been a long-standing proponent of hand washing, whether to mitigate contamination from other people's health issues, or to prevent issues from cutting, portioning, preparing, cooking, and service of raw meat, such as pork or beef or chicken and eggs, to fruits and vegetables, which all need to be inspected, rinsed, cleaned, and drained before use. Don't ever take anything for granted. Rinse that off and pat it dry before taking a bite. I once worked for a name chef who was the most dreadful, absolute slob in any kitchen I have ever been in my life. I have absolutely no idea how he got as far as he did with zero hygienic integrity and all that disturbing sloppiness. I was horrified to learn that he became a raw chef and would only prepare food that was never cooked. All vegan, all untouched by heated surfaces. Sounds so enticing and alluring to people who are hypnotized or really love that concept. It plays to your sense of vanity. All dangerously unsafe in his hands. There's a lot of stuff that can harm you from fruits and veggies with cross-contamination from unclean knives and utensils, Listeria, E. coli, and the list goes on, all potentially fatal. Talk about wreaking havoc on bodily functions. Pain is part of your bodily functions. The thing that truly amazes me is that, speaking as someone who experiences chronic severe pain almost incessantly, whenever I have any relief, my mind instantly has amnesia about what the pain actually is. it is the last thing you ever want to remember until it happens again. I certainly hope that it has not become ingrained into my body's homeostasis, but I have been in excruciating pain for a very, very long time. What are you going to do? Nobody likes a crybaby, and you just got to get on with your life. Turning to the more lowbrow side, John Cleese famously said something to the effect of, "We love our farts and our wee-wees, don't we?" And Monty Python's Flying Circus just broke down those cultural barriers with incredibly gratifying schoolboy humor about bodily functions and the language we use regarding those functions. Just bloody brilliant and exhilarating to those who became enamored of them, making enlightened fun of existential philosophers and making jokes about flatulence. How could any sophomoric lad resist? I actually worked in a restaurant with a woman whose surname was Semprini, and she absolutely refused to believe that the word Semprini was the punchline of a Monty Python sketch. Just flat out denied it. Oh well. And not to forget Mel Brooks's campfire scene in Blazing Saddles, and Madeline Kahn's bedtime chatter with Peter Boyle, her husband the monster in Young Frankenstein, and I can go on ad nauseum. But I'll try to restrain myself over a prolonged fart period of time. Sorry. And all of the vulgar jokes about sex and the toilet we have all heard and laughed at and made throughout our lives. And we just will never stop laughing at them. Austin Powers' cappuccino scene still makes people howl. And Seinfeld's history of non-vomiting. And George's girlfriend Nina's alleged bulimia, which is referred to as refunding. George's interest in this is based on his inherent parsimony and cheapness because he is paying for the food she is supposedly throwing up after eating. And this irks him. But we also forget that blinking our eyes is a bodily function, as is respiration, otherwise known as breathing. 10 terms from the National Cancer Institute. Bodily functions and life process. Body functions. Body functions are the physiological or psychological functions of body systems. The body's functions are ultimately its cells' functions. Survival is the body's most important business. Survival depends on the body's maintaining or restoring homeostasis, a state of relative constancy of its internal environment. More than a century ago, French physiologist Claude Bernard made a remarkable observation. He noted that body cells survived in a healthy condition only when the temperature, pressure, and chemical composition of their environment remained relatively constant. As Reverend Lovejoy of The Simpsons would say, "Constancy, sweet, sweet constancy." Later, an American physiologist, Walter B. Cannon, suggested the name homeostasis for the relatively constant states maintained by the body. Homeostasis is a key word in modern physiology. It comes from two Greek words, homeo, meaning the same, and stasis, meaning standing. Also, homeo, homeo, wherefore art thou, homeo, from the Our Gang, otherwise known as the Little Rascals shorts. Standing or staying the same, then, is the literal meaning of homeostasis. I wonder if anybody who ever wrote "Don't Ever Change" in a high school yearbook had any idea they were obliquely referring to homeostasis. However, as Cannon emphasized, homeostasis does not mean something set and immobile that stays exactly the same all the time. In his words, homeostasis means a condition that may vary, but which is relatively constant. Homeostasis depends on the body ceaselessly carrying on many activities. Its major activities or functions are responding to changes in the body's environment, exchanging materials between the environment and cells, metabolizing foods, and integrating all of the body's diverse activities. The body's ability to perform many of its functions changes gradually over the years. In general, the body performs its functions least well at both ends of life, in infancy and in old age. During childhood, body functions gradually become more and more efficient and effective. During late maturity and old age, the opposite is true. They gradually become less and less efficient and effective. During young adulthood, they normally operate with maximum efficiency and effectiveness. Life process. All living organisms have certain characteristics that distinguish them from non-living forms. The basic processes of life include organization, metabolism, responsiveness, movements, and reproduction. In humans, who represent the most complex form of life, there are additional requirements such as growth, differentiation, respiration, digestion, and excretion. All of these processes are interrelated. No part of the body, from the smallest cell to complete body system, works in isolation. All function together in fine-tuned balance for the well-being of the individual and to maintain life. Disease such as cancer and death represent a disruption of the balance in these processes. The following are a brief description of life processes. Organization. At all levels of the organizational scheme, there is a division of labor. Each component has its own job to perform in cooperation with others. Even a single cell, if it loses its integrity or organization, will die. Metabolism. Metabolism is a broad term that includes all the chemical reactions that occur in the body. One phase of metabolism is catabolism, in which complex substances are broken down into simpler building blocks and energy is released. Responsiveness. Responsiveness, or irritability, is concerned with detecting changes in the internal or external environments and reacting to that change. It is the act of sensing a stimulus and responding to it. Movement. There are many types of movement within the body. On the cellular level, molecules move from one place to another. Blood moves from one part of the body to another. The diaphragm moves with every breath. The ability of muscle fibers to shorten and thus produce movement is called contractility. Reproduction. For most people, reproduction refers to the formation of a new person, the birth of a baby. In this way, life is transmitted from one generation to the next through reproduction of the organism. In a broader sense, reproduction also refers to the formation of new cells for the replacement and repair of old cells, as well as for growth. This is cellular reproduction. Both are essential to the survival of the human race. Growth. Growth refers to an increase in size either through an increase in the number of cells or through an increase in the size of each individual cell. In order for growth to occur, anabolic processes must occur at a rate faster than catabolic processes. Differentiation. Differentiation is a developmental process by which unspecialized cells change into specialized cells with distinctive structural and functional characteristics. Through differentiation, cells develop into tissues and organs. Respiration. Respiration refers to all the processes involved in the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the cells and the external environment. It includes ventilation, the diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and the transport of the gases in the blood. Cellular respiration deals with the cell's utilization of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide in its metabolism. Digestion. Digestion is the process of breaking down complex ingested foods into simple molecules that can be absorbed into the blood and utilized by the body. Excretion. Excretion is the process that removes the waste products of digestion and metabolism from the body. It gets rid of byproducts that the body is unable to use, many of which are toxic and incompatible with life. The 10 life processes described are not enough to ensure the survival of the individual. In addition to these processes, life depends on certain physical factors from the environment. These include water, oxygen, nutrients, heat, and pressure. From medicinenet.com, medical definitions of vital bodily function. Vital bodily function is an essential bodily function, a key function for life, and a function required by most, if not all, people. The definition of vital bodily functions is prerequisite to the determination of death. From thefreedictionary.com, some bodily functions include Deglutition, the process or act of swallowing. I would have to imagine that this is where we get the comic term glug glug from. Desquamation, the shedding of the superficial epithelium, as of skin, the mucous membranes, etc. Ick. Diastasis, the contraction of the alimentary canal in a downward direction as part of peristalsis. Diuresis, an abnormally heavy or increased discharge or flow of urine. Diuretic is the noun. As someone who has a habit of abstaining from consuming alcohol for extended periods of time, months, years, or even relatively short bursts such as a week or two at a time, whenever I resume drinking, the very first time I need to engage in diuresis, I always seem to have forgotten how long it takes compared to when I don't consume alcohol. Eructation, the process of belching, that which is regurgitated in belching. Gustation, the act of tasting, or the sense of taste. Lacrimation, the act or process of shedding tears, weeping. When you are lachrymose, you are a person who cries. Lactation, the secretion of milk by a mammary gland, the period in which secretion takes place. Mandication, the act or process of chewing or eating. Olfaction, the sense of smell, the act of smelling. Oscitation, the act of yawning as from fatigue or sleepiness. Pandiculation, the process of yawning and stretching. Paradosis, abnormally excessive perspiration. Guilty, I am an Irish sweater. A walking barometer. There is always a thin line of water between me and my underwear, and my waistband is always wet. Purulence, the state or condition of containing or secreting pus. Oh my. Also, the production or generation of pus or similar matter. Ew. Sternutation, the act of sneezing, a sneeze. Vomition, the act or process of vomiting. Vomiturition, repeated but unsuccessful attempts at vomiting. Don't forget osculation, which is a controlled and not autonomous act, the act of kissing. But it seems to fit within the clinical definitions of these functions, and as I see it, a very necessary bodily function. Everybody needs attention and affection. If they don't get it, it warps them. I have long made fun of zoot suit hipsters of their day, as I imagine their interaction as they met, being a gay man. I would jokingly say, "Greetings, skate, let's osculate." I kind of lifted that from a later Popeye cartoon where Popeye and Bluto were competing once again for Olive Oil's attention, and at the time, zoot suits were popular. Which all makes me come to think of the Village People and their monster hit Macho Man, where the lyrics include the words, "Body, body, wanna feel my body, baby." Such a thrill, my body, yeah, yeah. Wanna touch my body, baby. It's too much, my body, yeah, yeah. Check it out, my body, body. Don't you doubt my body, body. Talking about my body, body. Check it out, my body. Thanks for listening. See you next time. And as the kiddies say, peace out.